Welcome to the first week of the Quantitative Methods section of the course. This week we'll get started by looking at different types of data we might have, how to represent that data in different sorts of graphs, and how to produce and understand some basic statistics that describe the data. We're also going to get started using Stata and learn how to make different sorts of graphs and output basic statistics from the program before going on to more sophisticated statistics in the following weeks. There are quite a few things in the textbook which I won't actually cover in the lecture. These topics are less important, but you should still read those parts of the textbook because they are somewhat of interest, or it's going to be somewhat useful depending on the topic you choose for your final assignment for the course. By the way, the instructions for that assignment are now on the website. There are also going to be some things that I cover in the lecture that aren't in the textbook, so you probably should pay particular attention to these. One, which is really important for environmental studies, is spatial data, which I'll briefly mention. It involves various considerations about how neighbouring areas, for example, often have quite similar values, but we won't really go into any kind of depth on that, but it's something to be aware of if you're using spatial data. Also, I'll look at various sorts of graphs, including pie charts, that a lot of people tend to get wrong, and graphs with logarithmic scales, which should be quite useful for the common data set we have. Because there's a really wide range of values in that data, and it's quite hard to see graphs using ordinary axes when the data varies so much. Another thing we'll look at, which isn't in the textbook, they have just their single period growth rates. We'll look at how to calculate an average growth rate over a longer time period. I've also broken down the textbook into weekly readings now. They're available as separate PDF files on the website, and that hopefully will be useful for you, especially if you're on a slow connection or a mobile device, in order to read the textbook readings for each week. About the tutorials, on-campus students, as I mentioned in the previous video, you should get familiar with using Stata, and especially how to get your data into the program. You'll first have to download the common data set from the Wattle site and then upload it into Stata in order to do anything with it. But we'll go over the actual using Stata instructions when we actually get to the tutorial, but you're welcome to try them out yourself beforehand. I will be posting detailed instructions to the tutorial in a day or so. And online students, our approach will be that it's probably going to be best, though we may change this depending how it goes, if you try to follow the instructions yourself for using Stata initially before the tutorial, and try to carry out all those instructions and see what happens. And then in the tutorial we can go over problems you had in trying to get the computer to do what you wanted it to do, or discussing the results you got from carrying out the instructions. But we'll see how that goes. So I think it otherwise quite hard with several students all independently in different locations trying to run the program and trying to work out what is going on. Probably better if we try to do that first and then we discuss the outcome and answer questions in the tutorial session. Okay, thank you. I look forward to seeing you at the lecture or in the tutorial sessions. That's it for this week.